Okay, welcome back for tutorial number 2. Again in Fusion 360. I'm pressing the Windows button and I'm going to Fusion, pressing enter. I think it's clipped onto your bottom bar, so you don't have to deal with that. But yeah, this will be focusing on the cam part of it, so the cutting, where we will be engraving. And so this is obviously where we make our paths and everything. So yeah, this is one of the more simpler ones, engraving, so that's where we'll be starting, and then we'll progress. Okay, so how I have it here, I don't have this sidebar open yet to access the file from our previous lessons. I'm going to click here, show data panel, all the way on the top left corner, and then go into my project, and then open Arabic Design 1, Mark 1. Okay. Here's our design. Now we're finished with the design, extruding and making the sketch and everything. So we're done with that part. So we go up to, again, our top bar, anything we want to do, tools or change our space, or what we do. So we go here over to design, and we go down to manufacture. Okay. So you see how the bar changed. So the first thing is set up, and then here's our paths, and then there's other things that you probably will not be using. You won't be using multi-axis, axes and stuff like that, but we will be using simulate, our post-process, and then our tool library. You don't need to go into this anymore, but that's how I added the bits and everything. And if we ever get any new bits, then we would add it through here, but we don't need to do that. Okay, so we start all the way on the left side, and then we progress this way. My units are in millimeters, so I'm going to change that right off the bat. Oops, hover, click, okay. Inches, okay. Not going to make it my default, but you can do that if you would like, and then you don't have to change it again to inches. So first thing I'm going to do is click setup. Okay, it automatically sets it. Okay, it automatically sets it as a milling operation because that was what we did before. Our stock point is right now set to the middle here. We want to set that to the top left corner, so we're going to select that. It automatically highlights the box point when you start creating a setup, so you can just click the points and that'll do that. Okay, so that selects that. It already knows our model, so we don't need to do anything else. You can do the model orientation, but the way we have it right now is correct. I believe. I sometimes forget if Y is supposed to be left and right, then X is up and down, but I think how we have it is correct. Okay, so we'll move. So we're finished with our first tab. We're going to move to the next one. We're going to go to the stock, so that was set up, and now we're going to do the stock tab up, so everything's working in this part for now. It automatically makes a relative size, and we're fine with that because we made our stock beforehand by making the rectangle in the sketch and everything. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take off the offsets because we know we put the exact size we needed when we were making the model. And so I took off those offsets, and that's all I have to do here. So you see its dimensions are 9 by 9 by 0.5. So that's fine. Nothing. We don't need to do anything in the post process, so we're fine there. And so that's it for our setup. Okay. So now, really simply, we just we're gonna go over to 2D. So right, we're in the setup section. Now we're gonna move on to the next one. It's like pretty systematic. And if we're doing 3D pathing, then that's the next one over. Okay. But nope, we're just dealing with 2D right now. So I'm gonna stick 2D. I'm gonna go down to the second from the bottom, engrave, and select that. Okay. Now, first thing it wants you to do is it wants you to select the tool, so we're just going to move from the bottom down. We don't need to do anything with the feeds and speeds because we already have our tool library, so that already sets everything for us. So we're just going to select this, and then it's going to take us to here, and if it's under all right now, but we want to move into our Carbide 3D library. I believe that the 90 degree is a 301. Yep, 90. So 301, 90 degree. Click on that. That'll be on the box of the actual bit if you're not sure about that one, but you can kind of look through these and see. But you should start getting used to the numbers, like 301 for 90 degree, then I think it's 302 for 60 degree, yeah, for 60 degree. And then there's like 102 or something for our 8th bit. We'll use that often. That's flat, and yeah. I can do like a separate lesson just discussing what type of bits you would use for different applications and stuff. But right now we're dealing with engraving, so all you're going to do is with these V-bits, 90-degree V-bit. Or you could use a 60-degree. You could see the difference, I guess, if you wanted to. So all you would have to do is go down to 302 and select that. That's the only thing you'd have to do. Okay, but I'm going to stick with my 90-degree. I'm going to select that. And then it applies it. And you saw all those feeds and speeds change. So that's exactly what we want. Coolant disabled, it automatically does that for you because it knows we're going to deal with wood because it's just carbide. It knows these bits are meant for wood. You don't really need coolant for that. But for metals and stuff like that, where the bit will definitely get hot, you need stuff like that. Water, air, just different things like that. Anyway, okay, so we're in our tools. We're going to move over to the next tab over geometry. Okay, so that's where we start selecting where our cut's going to happen. So go here, I want to select the top edge for engraving, top edge. If you're doing an end mill, the ones where like they're flat and like the flat, like just the normal kind of round ones, then we would be dealing with, I'll click the bottom here, this bottom face, and do that. But and it doesn't even let me select faces because engraving you can't do that. You have to select edges like this. So top edge, select that, and then I'm going to select this inner part here. Let me zoom in. It's just being a little annoying, but select. Okay, good. And I was mentioning something about arrows and stuff. Engraving, you don't need to deal with any of that. Then I'll select this here last. So there's no like directions in or out or anything like that. So this is very simple. So a great place to start for just to get used to fusion and pathing and stuff like that. So I selected this edge, I selected then this one, and then I selected this one. So boop, boop, and boop. And so those three are selected. You can see here, 3 chains selected. Okay, and so engraving, they need to be continuous paths. So we saw in the previous Arabic square one that there was breaks in it. So then like first it wouldn't actually let you extrude it anyway, but it would also just be, the path wouldn't be able to be created, if that makes sense. Okay, so geometry is selected. Heights you don't need to deal with. It already kind of does it for you, but I can just kind of explain it just a bit here. So I just selected this, so it was like this, right? And I just went here and selected front so I could see the front. For engraving, there's only 2 kind of sections that you need. So there's the retract and then there's the clearance. So clearance is just like how far away from the block you can kind of get. That's like when it finishes, it'll go up to that height. Retract is, so like for example when I'm pathing, so it's going here and cutting along here, and it wants to move after it's done this and comes here. When it goes up, because obviously it doesn't want to go right into this cut here, so it wants to reach up, so it'll go, the actual bit will move up a bit, so it'll go up and then move this way, then down into that cut, and then finish, and then go up to the finish. That makes sense. So so after it gets here, it goes up, then it'll go and drop into there to make that little dot cut, and then it'll go up and then clear and go back to our 0 or something. So yeah, that's but we don't need to make any changes here. That just keep it default. Okay. Let's see, your tolerances are fine, that's fine. Linking, you don't need to do anything. So with engraving, literally all it is so I just go with these tabs, just making sure I'm not missing anything here. So for the first tab, tool, select our tool and 90-degree V-bit under the carbide library. We also have a 90-degree in the Amina. You could also select that if you wanted to. But we're using the carbide one. That automatically put our feeds and speeds in. Then the geometry, we selected our edges, so we selected this, and we selected this little hole here, and that was basically it. Then you're done. After you select those, you press OK. It'll start generating the path, and bam, you've got your cut. This is a great kind of starter example, to be honest, because it's a very simple process to do and great to just get used to the controls and you get more comfortable. So see, this is starred right now. It says save this, so we have this path saved. As a description, we can just say cam addition or something, cam engraving or something. Yeah, cam engraving, sure, call it cam engraving added. So that's just for your references. That's somewhere you can like read that, so you know what different as you add versions. So the first version, I guess, was just a model, and now we added the cam engraving. That makes sense. Press OK. I'm just so that's saved. Fusion is really good at automatically saving. So if you do forget, it does automatically save. So it doesn't let you close out. It just starts saving automatically. And if you want to kind of just look at see how it will be in action, you can go here. So remember, we started setup, and then we went into the 2D to the engraving, and then we selected our tool and the geometry. That was after the setup, and now we don't need any of this 3D stuff, none of this drilling or multi-axis, no modify. We're going to go into actions now. Manage is for your tool library. We'll never deal with that, so just look at these bottom bits to kind of, it gets you into the section you want to be. And it's always, so we're on the first one, this first tab, like milling, this turning, there's additive. Additive is like 3D printing. Turning is a different form of CNC, it's kind of like a CNC lathe, if you can think of it like that, I guess. But we'll always be under milling, so just get comfortable with this top bar here. And then what was I wanted? I wanted to show you how to simulate. So actions here, we want to go into simulate, okay, and then we're fine. And what we want to do is, the only thing I want to change here is I want to show the stock. So when it actually does a simulation, you can actually see the stock being removed, so it's really useful. So I selected that, and then you don't press close, you go here and you can press play and you can see the cut happen. And it's a good way if we're dealing with more complicated paths to just kind of see if there's any collisions or anything or any interferences. So like if maybe the bit might hit a clamp or something, so we can keep an eye on that. It's always good to simulate, right? Before actually making the real thing. So yeah, it looks good. And then so this is the retracts I was telling you about. So once they make a cut and it comes up this path, this is known as a retract. So this distance was that retract height that we were doing before, if you remember. I was showing you that. But yeah, so that's a simulation. It looks great, cool. And yeah, so we simulate that. And then to actually just get our file out that we're going to send to the CNC machine, we're going to go over, so simulate, next to it is post-process. So it's like a whole, right, we moved this way to this way, right? We started setup, we did it into our pass for the 2D engraving, we wanted to simulate, make sure everything's good, and then we move into our post-process. Now post-process, it looks like a bunch of complicated stuff, but it really is not. Only two things you want to deal with here are you want to make sure this is on Carbide 3D Gerbil. So if you go here and you just want to look for Carbide 3D, so under C, Carbide 3D, select that. So that just tells us that we're post-processing, we're sending this file to a Carbide 3D machine, so that all their config files and everything are set for that. And then the other thing you want to change is output folder. And so we would, for now, I'm just going to send it to my downloads. If you like want to make a folder or something where you want that to be, then make that, and you can make certain folders for different projects or whatnot. And so yeah, so we set that folder, and then we don't want to call it, this is like the default name it calls it, but we want to, this is just where you set the name of the actual file. So I want to call it, let's just call it what our file is called, Arabic _design _1_mark1. I make my names kind of complicated, but you can do whatever you want for that. So right, set the Carbide 3D, that's our post process. Set the folder you want it to save to, and then set the file name, and then press post. And yeah, I have it automatically set to open my, this is VS Code. So basically it looks super complicated, but it's not. Like you can uncheck that if you really want to. You don't need it to be open. But this is literally all it is. This is what is called G-code. So G-code is just some commands. So like these commands, this means sort of retract things and how to zero the machine beforehand, before starting the job. And then you start going to the job, which is just a bunch of position data. So like that's how it knows where to path, right? Where it cuts. So you gotta tell the machine locations. So that's about it. And yeah, hopefully that wasn't like too much information. I kind of went into some nitty gritty stuff later and about retracts and stuff, but yeah, maybe I'll do a different tutorial just going through the process with no kind of extra explanations or anything. So you just can look at the process. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful, and yeah, we went through I think everything that I wanted to go through. So yeah, sounds good. Hopefully that helps. Office.